Since ancient times, gardens have been celebrated for their healing powers, and more recently have been shown to relieve stress, provide comfort, and create a great sense of calm, which is exactly what the family in our story needs. They've invited me to join them in transforming their block and beginning to rebuild their lives after a devastating loss. But getting to that place of nurture and restoration is going to involve a huge uphill battle, in more ways than one. For Roberto Masnata, home is a classic Queenslander perched high on a hill in the Brisbane suburb of Hamilton. And when I say high on a hill, I mean high. It's an exhausting 85 steps to reach the front door. Despite the challenging location, when it came up for sale, Roberto's wife of 19 years, Karen, quickly fell in love and convinced him it could be the perfect family home.
You know, I'm more of a practical guy. I thought, what about groceries? What about every time you're bringing in furniture? But when it came to a battle of attrition, Karen would always win, naturally. So I walked up those steps.
Luckily, they both saw its huge potential and they decided to renovate.
I thought, wow, we can really do something with this.
Sadly, tragedy struck when Karen was diagnosed with cancer.
Karen was diagnosed just before renovations started, and despite everything, despite her world being completely rocked, she was determined to do as great a job as possible by getting the right feel for this house to fulfil her vision.
Despite failing health, Karen persisted and, incredibly, finished the house.
Eventually the chemo stopped working. So at this stage, Karen stopped working too.
Now, 4 months later, Roberto and teenagers Geordie and Luca are honouring a wife and a mum by finishing her dream and embarking on the final chapter in the transformation of their home, the garden.
How about this project? It's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly.
No. Mum will be impressed.
For sure.
Hey, Roberto.
Hey.
How are you going?
Great. How are you?
Excellent, thank you. That's quite a climb. That's
Yes.
incredible.
Tell me about it. It's a shocker.
So how did you start developing ideas for the front?
We wanted an alternative way to get up. We wanted something that would encourage you to come through, meander, and hopefully enjoy the journey up.
Plans were drawn, but put aside. Now Roberto wants the experience of creating this garden to take him by surprise. So I love the idea that these plans aren't set in concrete. You know, you're looking at a much more organic approach.
Well, I think a garden should be like that. It's you know, when it comes to a house, well, I guess you can be really prescriptive about what you want. But even there, you always need to be flexible. Things don't always turn out the way you expect.
There are bigger challenges that end than anyone saw coming with this, aren't there? And this was a shared vision that is now something you're seeing through. And what an amazing thing as a part of a grieving process to take on something proactively like that.
Yeah, so it is a design that we shared together. So I've decided I want to finish this. It'll be a nice memorial garden.
How's it going to feel for you now to really get started?
Relief. Relief that we've finally got there.
Yeah.
So while it will be happy occasion to do it, it's not, I won't be doing it with the person I want to. But I've got great people who are on board here, who want this to be fantastic.
It won't be easy, either emotionally or physically. The slope alone presents huge challenges. Slopes that steep are just inherently repellent, aren't they? You know, that slope does not want you to stand on it, does it, the way it currently is?
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't want you to be on it. And
Sure
what
don't.
I'm really looking forward to is seeing the way you all engage with this space once it becomes incredibly friendly. At the moment, it's hostile.
Yes, that's exactly right. It's darn hostile.
The roof of the garage is going to be replaced with a suspended slab so that the garden can extend right over the top of it. In the centre, there's a lawn pretty much as big as the slope will allow us to carve. Further up is a terrace, this stone and containing a fire pit. But the stroke of genius is a series of decks floating down the other side of the slope. This is the perfect solution to this situation because it can just hover above all the level and slope issues. This will totally change the way you arrive, depart and engage with what is otherwise a totally unusable space. Roberto is hoping that this hillside will transform into a space for the family to socialise in and reflect. One of the things I really love about gardens and gardening is this idea that as we nurture, we are nurtured in return. And therein lies the healing power of gardens. And what's more, for many of us, that healing opportunity is right outside our back door. Day one, and it's another perfect day in Brisbane. Excellent conditions for transforming a difficult slope. Unfortunately for Roberto, he'll be missing out on the action.
I kind of wish I didn't have to go to work. So, yeah, it's a shame, but I've got to earn a living.
And the first expense is arriving in the street. Today's excavation alone will cost around $3,000. This is a crazy slope. This is unbelievable. You all right?
My mountain goat country here.
So work begins.
Finally, it's happening.
But you're going out. You're leaving.
Yeah. It's probably a good thing, really.
Really?
Yes, I've just heard that a few of my favourite plants are going to get destroyed, so...
Right.
Yeah, it's a process that's moving forward and that means that we will get to where we want to be.
To get the excavator up the slope, builder Victor Tagavkin is lining up 2 tracks at a precise 62-degree angle.
I'll try to kind of make my way up to the top. A bit of fun, sounds
We can't wait to see that. I can't watch it. He tilts it back. So surely he's going to lock that bucket in. It's a hair-raising feat. Victor must now scale the second retaining wall by crossing over 2 timber tracks. Before he can progress, the slope needs to be levelled. He must be planning to do a hard left once he's up there because I can't see how he can get up that next rise.
If you can get up that slippery timber, which is so far it's gripping.
Here we go. Oh, yikes. That is incredible.
Wow, good on him.
Relieved to see the first hurdle overcome, Roberto heads off to work. This excavation is not so much about removing the dirt as it is about rearranging it to create level terraces. What will be disappearing is some of the greenery. You know, people react very differently to this kind of destruction. Some people are going, yeah, just get in there and rip into it, let's get rid of it. And others become really precious right at this point. But look, it's a completely renewable source and we know we're going to a new and better place. And no one understands that better than Roberto's mother-in-law, Iris, who's delighted to see her daughter's project underway. I love the fact that Roberto was just so ready to dive into this process, and it's quite disruptive. But I get the impression that this was really as much Karen's character as it was Roberto's.
I think it's hit a nerve with him. It's just been right for him to launch in that knowing how much she'd love it.
I think that is really wonderful.
And I remember she looked him in the eye before she went and she said, "You'll do it, Rob." You know, she was right there. She had a lot of faith in him, and that was a big thing for him too.
Right now, transforming this steep slope is a big challenge. If this garden succeeds, it will play a vital role in the family's recovery. Keen to see a garden that has conquered similar design challenges, I headed to Sydney's northern suburbs, where designer Matt Lacey has solved these landscaping issues with agility. The vast scale of this garden meant that Matt had to contend with multiple changes in the landscape levels.
Behind us here was really blocked off and there was trees and bush and there was no connection with the rest of the property that goes beyond. So the whole idea was just to make the process of getting down to the back of the property more functional, inviting and more pleasurable to walk through.
Which is exactly what Roberto is hoping to achieve in Brisbane.
I'm a true believer that you should never just be walking up a straight set of stairs. I like everything to be a journey and for you to enjoy the passage of movement through a property. And that's why I love sloping gardens to design with.
Matt hasn't been afraid to plant on a big scale. Cloud-pruned Westringia, aloes and Mexican lilies are all featured en masse. Matt played with a variety of wood and stone surfaces in order to constantly stimulate the senses when walking through the garden. I mean, this is fantastic. This is so fabulously bouncy because of its cantilevered nature, but was that a really deliberate choice?
I think certain jobs you've got to get the balance between the stone and the hardscaping and the soft and the organic. And with a native kind of setting like this, it's nice to have your sandstone, some decomposed granite, but then the decks just add an organic element that soften it.
And it's curious how you can actually feel that underfoot, that the organic, the inorganic, the hard surface, the impervious. Somehow or other we're reading various stimuli, aren't we, through our feet? I don't get it, but you really do. This staggered decking really is the standout feature. It's splayed out like a pack of cards. This design is fantastically nimble in the way it handles contours. Using deck materials for steps, for instance, minimises the excavation required. The steps can just skim over the slope. It also allows for multiple changes of direction, perhaps more than any other step material. But what I like best is the opportunity for this overhanging edge. It just provides such lightness, such a buoyancy. Roberto needs to use similar design principles to make his slope inviting, because at the moment, it's anything but. 6 weeks into the build, and work is underway on the retaining walls. But a heavy Queensland storm has left Roberto's block looking more like a landslide.
Yeah, it got pretty extreme. It rained and it rained and it rained.
Undeterred by Mother Nature's revamp, Builder Victor is pleased with the progress on the fire pit.
During the construction, we took a bit of time-lapse video. So we built this foam work and poured the concrete into the walls, and that's creating the fire pit in the middle of the green patch.
Due to the severity of the storm, designer and landscaper Ted Maguire has been forced to implement a major design change. The mudslide has revealed drainage problems, and to help address issues of stability, heavy stone steps will now replace the timber.
I say to clients all the time that the design doesn't finish at the presentation of a piece of paper and a drawing. The design will continue to evolve and change through the construction process.
Roberto said he wanted the design process to surprise him, and this enforced change will do exactly that. Determined to keep going with the flow, he's also got a surprise of his own.
I've sort of suggested a change to the design, a pleasant room where you could have a large TV, couches, and bifolds that open up onto that area where I was thinking of having a pond.
Roberto raises the idea with Ted.
That area above the garage,
Yeah.
we're looking at the possibility of it being a bit of a, kind of like a TV kind of room. We'll have to have a look at the plans, but
Yeah.
I wonder whether we could do something like that.
We could do that. Yeah.
While the idea of the room settles in everyone's minds, it's onwards and upwards with the stone levels.
Good stuff.
The heavy stone has been craned onto the block, but each step needs to be meticulously measured and carefully placed with the excavator.
Now there'd be 80, 100 kilos in each of these. And throughout the site, we've got at least 50 of these to cover the terrain.
So, how's the deadline looking? Questionable. I hope I'm not painting by the hour, Ted.
It's excruciatingly slow. Despite the snail's pace, there's a feeling of positivity on site. For Roberto, laughter is proving to be the best tonic.
Well, today the progress has been amazing. It's been a huge day, and you should just see what we've got here. 6 steps.
Still, it's 6 steps closer to realising Karen's dream. 5 weeks later...
Well, we have more than 6 steps now. I've lost count. Lots of steps, lots of stone, way too much stone. At the moment, it looks like we've uncovered something you'd find in Pompeii. But, you know, it's got potential.
Fortunately, gardenia and camellias are being planted in the beds, and large crepe myrtles are arriving. And the stonework for the fire pit is nearly complete. Hey, Roberto.
Hello.
Wow, this has just changed so much.
It sure has.
Is it how you imagined it being?
I think that it's a grander scale than I expected, but the grandness will be great. I think this is more of a bold statement in the end. Yeah.
Well, it's certainly looking bold. As predicted, it's evolved substantially from the original design. So with all these changes that have occurred, have there been budget implications to that?
Oh, everything has been way, way more expensive than I expected. So every week the invoices come and it's like, oh my God, and it just keeps going and going. Even just with the fire pit zone, where initially it was basically going to be some rocks placed on top of each other to create some walls.
No, it's a little more than that now.
Yeah, and it's become a bunker now, so
right.
Yeah, zombie apocalypse will be fine.
I'm relieved to see that other pockets of greenery are beginning to emerge. This damp corner is perfect for a carpet of pratia to thrive among the stone.
You'll find that that'll run all through this, come into these cracks.
It just makes things look like they've been there forever.
It was about trying to soften off all this stone too. Like, it looks really raw at the moment with all of the stonework, but it'll tone down a fair bit once all this planting, this green comes through.
When I first arrived, there really was no sense of space, or at least no sense of contained or resolved space. The slope just slid down the hill and down the road. Now with these terraces, it immediately provides these resting places, these pausing places on the slope that was once just a slippery dip. And so what about the kids? Do they engage with this at all?
To be honest, I don't think they've really even noticed.
Well, they just come up those stairs and don't take...
Pretty much.
Wow.
Pretty much. Look, until we get Wi-Fi here in the garden, they're probably not going to hang out.
That is fabulous. So it's got to be kind of high-tech gardens. Yeah. Roberto may laugh, but it seems like once he's made a wish, it could very well come true. 15 weeks later,
and Roberto's garden room has materialised.
Well, it looks like we've found a way to get some Wi-Fi into the garden.
This enormous two-storey addition will be kitted out with all the mod cons. However, it turns out it's not a completely new idea.
We had thought of it a few years ago with Karen, and I started thinking again, maybe I should revisit that design.
So what would Karen think of this incarnation?
Oh, she'd be going, hope you're not spending too much. But she'd be loving it. Yeah. She'd be thinking this is exactly what the home needed.
Fortunately, the garden is nearly complete. Plants are settling in and the stonework is almost done. The fire pit pergola's gone up, and the use of salvaged wharf timbers has added $10,000 to the bill. This design has grown phenomenally.
So far, we've got the steel frame done on our base.
Especially for builder Victor.
We had a lot of soil gone off-site. We're talking about 140 cubic meters of soil, so I didn't expect something like that happens at all. So.
I love this room. This is amazing.
The levels actually come up pretty much how we expected.
Look, the way it connects with that, I love it. All right, let's talk internet because we all need it.
We've got provisions here.
So that should keep the kids happy. A memorial water feature for Karen will be located at the entrance to the garden room.
I think that'll work well. Just come down here, in a different zone. It'll be nice and peaceful, tranquil. I like it.
And make sure it's all flush.
Even with extreme changes to the design, Roberto still wants to see the job finished soon.
I see it being completed by the end of November. Do you hear that, Victor?
I heard it.
So that's in about 3 weeks. Looks doable.
Even though there's still a way to go, Victor knows his work will have a lasting impact on a family that has been through so much.
When you've got a good connection to the client, you're trying to build his dream into the real life, basically. That's where they can spend the time, without any kind of worries.
And so, as you can see, that's the garden room.
Oh, it'd be good to have friends over.
Yeah.
And there's Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Gotta have it. The real journey's gonna start when it's done, and then they can actually be part of this new design, this new part of the home.
Definitely. Sorry, I'll turn that. Sorry.
So far,
Is the Wi-Fi working already?
It's now January, 9 months since Roberto invited me to join him in the creation of this garden inspired by the memory of his wife, Karen. He was seeking a creative outlet during this period of grief. I'm curious to see what he's created.
Oh, that's incredible. Can't believe it. It's just completely unrecognisable. You can't tell where you are or where you were the way the slope used to be. I'm standing in a valley or in a bowl of space. It's just completely different. It's a lot of stone. There is a lot of stone. But there needs to be at a point like this because it will gradually be concealed in the growth and will be all the better for being at least half concealed. Already, the crepe myrtle has provided a sense of enclosure, but the new garden room has completely altered the block. previously this slope was so hostile, it didn't rest at any point, it didn't resolve. These stairs have all these fantastic different angles so that your sense of the slope going in one direction is completely confounded, completely lost.
Hello.
Hey, Roberto. Hey,
What do you reckon?
This is incredible.
It is.
Honestly, I can't locate myself. Like, I've lost all sense of landmark. Everything has changed.
It has all changed, and it's all for the better. It's way more than I expected. I'm loving it. Absolutely loving it.
So you set out to create this garden as a tribute to Karen, but you also expected that there would be healing in the process.
Yeah.
Has that been the case?
It's been a gradual thing, this healing process. It's been a project that has kept me occupied, and so knowing that the children are going to have something at the end that they're going to love, and know that their mum had so much to do with it, even though she wasn't here to see the work happening. The idea was between her and me, and so it's been healing, definitely healing.
One of the things that really interests me is the way a garden reveals the character of its owners. Where do we see Karen's character emerging here?
With the sense of intimacy in the little spaces that we've created, and she liked more classic lines, something that has that permanency about it. Yeah.
And what do we see of you?
Someone who doesn't know how to control their budget.
Because one assumes you've spent a fair bit more than what you set out to spend.
Look, so with the garden, I was expecting between 150 and 2. And I may have gone over by about 50, I'd say.
Right.
When we factor in, though, the garden house and everything else, we're probably talking over $500,000 all up, I'd say.
A price that Roberto was prepared to pay for the joy this space will bring.
What I always wanted was a garden that you can't see it all immediately. You turn a corner and you see something. You turn another corner and you see something else. And I had just such wonderful people just driving it. They always wanted to do the best they could, knowing the circumstances, and just because they're just great people anyway.
Do you often find yourself surrounded by great people?
Well, that's interesting. I think I probably always have been, but I always took that for granted. But I don't anymore.
Hey, Jordy. How are you going? Hey, Luca.
The fire pit will serve as a social hub, the water feature a place for reflection, and the garden room a teenage Wi-Fi retreat.
It's like a lot to take in, but it turned out so nice that just really happy.
I couldn't imagine something better.
For all its idiosyncratic composition, it's their dream garden, perfectly suited to their needs.
When we think about the healing power of gardens, we imagine finished spaces of quiet contemplation. But as we've seen, the creative processes can be just as powerful in their own way. And for maximum benefit, we need to access both. For Roberto and family, they've done the hard yards, and it's now time for them to access the healing from simply enjoying their amazing reclaimed space.
It's beautiful.
So this is a nice little spot.
Very peaceful and relaxing. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Karen would love this.